Admiral Wu Taiho stood at the wide window of his office on Earth Command Station. He watched the ships move slowly through space. Cargo vessels carried food and supplies to the colonies. Passenger ships brought families to new worlds. Everything looked peaceful. Taiho had been watching over Earth's colonies for 15 years. In that time, humans had built homes on 47 different worlds. They grew crops, mined metals, and raised their children under alien suns. Most days, his job was boring. He signed papers, approved supply runs, and listened to reports about crop yields, but today felt different. "Sir, we have another report," said his aide, Lieutenant Park Sun-ho. The young officer looked worried as he handed over a data pad. Taiho read the report quickly. Another mining station had gone silent. This was the fourth one in 2 months. The Baoiks? Stations were in different star systems, but they all had one thing in common. They stopped sending signals without any warning. "What do the rescue teams find when they get there?" Taiho asked. "Nothing, sir. The stations are empty. No bodies, no signs of fighting, just empty rooms and missing equipment." Taiho frowned. This was not normal. Pirates usually left evidence behind. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they could not carry. But these stations were cleaned out completely. Far away on the colony world of New Jeju, Dr. Lee Minji was having similar worries. She managed all the outer colonies, the ones farthest from Earth. These worlds were supposed to be safe. They had good defenses and early warning systems. Minji walked through the main street of New Seoul City. Children played in the parks while their parents worked in the farms and factories. The colony looked like any peaceful town on Earth, but appearances could fool people. She stopped at the communications center and called her assistant. "Yuna, I need you to check something for me. Look at the pattern of the missing stations." Colonel Kim Yuna was not just an assistant. She was a trained soldier who worked undercover as a colonial administrator. Many people in the colonies had similar hidden roles. Farmers who knew how to use weapons, engineers who could build more than houses, teachers who understood military tactics. "I already checked," Yuna said quietly. "The missing stations form a line pointing toward our populated worlds. Someone is testing our defenses." Minji felt a chill run down her back. "Are you sure?" "Yes. They start with remote stations and move closer each time. They want to see how fast we respond and what weapons we have. This was exactly what Earth Command had feared would happen someday. Humans had spread across the galaxy very quickly. Other alien races had taken thousands of years to build their empires. Humans did it in 50 years. Some aliens were not happy about this. Back on Earth, Command Station Taiho called an emergency meeting. His senior officers gathered in the war room. The room had not been used for real planning in over 10 years. "I think we are being watched," Taiho told them. "Someone is studying our colonies." Captain Park Sun-ho, who now commanded the heavy cruiser, Seoul's Pride, spoke up. "What kind of aliens would do this?" "The kind that want to take what we have built," replied Colonel Kim Yuna, who had arrived from New Jeju on a fast ship. "My sources say the Vorthak Collective has been asking questions about human space." Everyone in the room knew about the Vorthak. They were a warrior race that had conquered 12 different species. They built their empire through force and fear. So far, they had left humans alone because human space was far from their territory. "Maybe that has changed," Taiho said. "Maybe they think we are weak enough to attack." The aliens had good reason to think this. Human colonies looked defenseless. They had small police forces and cargo ships. Their military was tiny compared to other galactic powers. Most aliens saw humans as peaceful farmers and miners who could not fight a real war. They were very wrong. Taiho pressed a button on the table. A secret panel slid open, revealing additional communication equipment. "Activate Protocol 7, he ordered. Protocol 7 was humanity's biggest secret. Every human colony had been built with hidden military capabilities. The peaceful farms could feed huge armies. The mining equipment could be turned into weapons. The cargo ships could carry soldiers and supplies anywhere in the galaxy very quickly. Most importantly, every adult human in the colonies had military training. They practiced in secret, away from alien visitors. Parents taught their children how to fight while they learned reading and math. Teachers who looked like civilians were actually former soldiers. Within hours, messages went out to all 47 colonies. The messages looked like normal business communications, but they carried a hidden meaning: get ready for war. On New Jeju, engineer Nam Jinho received his coded message while working in the fusion power plant. He smiled and walked to a locked room that most people thought stored cleaning supplies. Inside were weapon blueprints and military equipment that had been waiting for this day. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humans. They might look peaceful, but they were always ready to fight. Every human colony was actually a military base disguised as a farming community. Every cargo ship could become a warship in days. Every human citizen was a trained soldier waiting for orders. The Vorthak Collective was making a big mistake. They thought they were attacking weak farmers and miners, but they were really about to wake up the most dangerous military force the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Wu Teho looked out at the peaceful ships moving through space. Soon, those same ships would carry weapons and soldiers to defend human worlds. The quiet time was ending. The giants were about to wake up. In the distance, unknown ships watched from the shadows. The Vorthak scouts did not know they had been detected. They thought they were studying helpless prey. Instead, they were watching humanity prepare for the war that would change everything. The attack came at dawn on 12 human worlds at the same time. On the colony of New Busan, Commander Kang Subin was drinking coffee when the alarm started screaming. She ran to the window and saw enemy ships dropping from the sky like angry metal birds. Their weapons lit up the morning darkness with deadly fire. All pilots to your fighters, she shouted into her communicator. This is not a drill. The Vorthak had chosen their targets carefully. They hit the biggest food-producing worlds first, thinking humans would surrender when their people started starving. They destroyed 3 agricultural colonies completely, turning green fields into burning wastelands. But the aliens made their first mistake. They thought the colonies would panic and beg for help from Earth. Instead, something else happened. On New Busan, the ground began to shake. Huge metal doors opened in the hillsides. Fighter ships rose from hidden underground hangars. The peaceful farming equipment in the fields suddenly turned and pointed weapons at the sky. Commander Kang Subin climbed into her fighter and launched with 30 other pilots. The Vorthak ships were bigger and had stronger shields, but they had never fought humans before. Remember your training, Subin said to her pilots. Fast and smart beats big and slow. The human fighters moved like birds, turning and diving in ways that confused the enemy gunners. Subin led her squadron between the alien ships, firing at weak spots her people had studied for years. One by one, the big Vorthak ships began to explode. On the ground, Lieutenant Ko Eunha was leading civilians to safety when Vorthak soldiers landed near the main city. The enemy troops were 7 feet tall with thick armor and energy weapons. They expected the humans to run away in fear. Instead, Ko Eunha and her people fought back. The farmers pulled military rifles from hidden storage rooms. The teachers threw grenades they had kept in school supplies. Even the children helped by running messages between fighting groups. Stay low and move fast, Ko Eunha told her soldiers. Use the buildings. Make them come to us. The Vorthak soldiers were strong, but they were used to fighting enemies who stood in lines and shot at each other. Humans fought differently. They hid in shadows, attacked from behind, and disappeared before the enemy could shoot back. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Choi Hyun-woo watched the reports coming in from the attacked colonies. His face was calm, but his eyes were angry. The aliens had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Activate total war status, he ordered. Send the message to all colonies and all ships. The message was simple. The giants are awake. Across human space, amazing things began to happen. Cargo ships that had been carrying food suddenly sprouted. Weapon turrets. Mining stations turned their powerful digging lasers toward space. Factory workers stopped making civilian goods and started building missiles. Engineer Nam Jinho was in his secret room when the total war message arrived. He had been waiting for this moment for 10 years. His fingers flew over the controls as he activated Project Titan. All around human space, asteroids that looked natural suddenly came to life. Hidden inside these rocks were the most powerful weapons humanity had ever built. Massive railguns that could destroy ships from 1,000,000 miles away. Missile launchers that could fire thousands of warheads at once. The Vorthak had been watching human space for months, but they had been watching the wrong things. They saw farmers and miners and families. They never saw the weapons hidden inside. Every asteroid, every space station, every innocent-looking cargo ship. Captain Park Sun-ho got his war orders while his ship Seoul's Pride was delivering supplies to a mining colony. In minutes, his crew transformed their peaceful cargo vessel into a warship. Hidden weapon systems deployed from the ship's hull. The cargo bay opened to reveal fighter squadrons. Set course for New Busan, Sun-ho ordered. Maximum speed, but New Busan was already winning its battle. Commander Kang Subin and her pilots had destroyed half the Vorthak fleet. On the ground, Lieutenant Ko Eunha's people had trapped the enemy soldiers in the city center. The aliens were learning that humans were different from every other species they had conquered. Other races panicked when attacked. Other races called for help and waited for rescue. Other races gave up when their leaders were killed. Humans got angry, and angry humans were very dangerous. Dr. Lee Minji coordinated the defense from her command center on New Jeju. Her screens showed all 12. Attacked colonies fighting back successfully. The colonies the Vorthak had destroyed were already being avenged by their sister worlds. Status report, she called to her staff. New Busan has driven off the attackers, reported one aide. New Seoul is mopping up the last enemy troops. The mining worlds have activated their defense platforms. But Minji was thinking bigger. The Vorthak had attacked 12 human worlds. Humans were about to respond by attacking every Vorthak world they could reach. Send a message to Earth Command, she ordered. Tell Admiral Wu that the colonies request permission to counterattack. The message that came back was short. Permission granted. Show them what humans can do. On the Vorthak command ship, General Kazak was confused and angry. His perfect attack plan was failing. The human colonies should have surrendered by now. Instead, they were fighting back harder than anyone had ever fought before. How many ships have we lost? He asked his aide. 60% of the assault fleet, sir. The humans had hidden weapons everywhere. Kazak could not believe it. His intelligence reports said humans were peaceful. They were supposed to be easy targets. How did farmers and miners become such deadly fighters so quickly? The answer was simple. They had always been deadly fighters. They had just been pretending to be something else. As the first day of the war ended, the galaxy began to understand that everything had changed. The peaceful human colonies were gone, replaced by military fortresses that could defend themselves. The friendly human cargo ships had become warships carrying death to their enemies. Most importantly, the humans were not just defending anymore. They were preparing to attack. In secret bases throughout human space, massive fleets were being assembled. Ships that had been disguised as civilian vessels revealed their true nature. Weapons that had been hidden for decades were loaded and aimed at Vorthak space. The Vorthak had wanted to test human defenses. Instead, they had awakened humanity's military might. The sleeping giants were standing up, and they were very, very angry. The real war was about to begin. 3 weeks after the Vorthak attack, the galaxy learned what human war machines really looked like. Fleet Admiral Bei Jinwu stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the greatest armada in human history prepare for battle. 200 warships filled the space around Earth. Each ship looked like it had been built for war, but most of them had been cargo vessels or passenger ships just days before. "All fleets report ready for jump," announced his communications officer. Jinwu nodded. Operation Righteous Thunder was about to begin. The humans were done defending. Now they would attack. The transformation had been incredible to watch. Earth's shipyards, which built 3 or 4 ships per month during peacetime, were now launching 50 ships every day. Factories that made farming equipment were building tank destroyers. Schools had become military training centers. Dr. Song Yerim worked without sleep in her laboratory, studying pieces of destroyed Vorthak ships. Her team had to solve the mystery of enemy shield technology before the human fleet reached Vorthak space. "Their shields use a rotating frequency," she explained to her tired assistants. "But human computers can calculate the pattern faster than their shields can change." This was typical of human advantages. Other species built one thing and used it the same way for centuries. Humans built things that could adapt and change. Their computers learned from every battle. Their weapons improved after every fight. While Dr. Song worked on technology, Major Lim Dongyuk prepared for a different kind of mission. His Special Forces team would go ahead of the main fleet and cause trouble behind enemy lines. "Our job is to make the Vorthak look over their shoulders," he told his soldiers. "We hit their supply ships, blow up their fuel depots, and make them afraid of shadows." Dongyuk's team had trained for missions like this their whole lives. Every human soldier learned to fight alone, in small groups, and as part of huge armies. They could survive on hostile worlds, repair their own equipment, and think for themselves when communication was cut off. The Vorthak military was different. Their soldiers followed orders and never questioned commands. Their officers made plans and expected those plans to work perfectly. When something unexpected happened, they became confused and slow to respond. Captain An Sohee commanded humanity's newest weapon, the experimental dreadnought Inchen's Fury. The ship was as long as a city and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But its most important feature was not its weapons. "All systems green," reported her engineer. "The quantum cores are stable." The quantum cores were Dr. Song Yerim's greatest achievement. They let human ships move, think, and fight faster than any other vessels in the galaxy. While enemy ships needed minutes to calculate jump coordinates, human ships could do it in seconds. As the human fleet prepared to leave Earth, Admiral Wu Taiho received reports from the colonies. The transformation there was just as impressive. Dr. Li Minji had turned her peaceful farming worlds into fortress planets. Every colony now had orbital weapons platforms, underground bunkers, and missile defense systems. More importantly, every civilian had become a trained soldier. "The children are learning to shoot while they study math," Minji reported. "The farmers are practicing tank warfare between crop harvests. If the Vorthak come back, they will find a very different welcome." But the Vorthak were not coming back to human space. They were too busy defending their own worlds. Major Lim Dongyuk's commandos had been busy. They destroyed fuel depots, sabotaged communication networks, and captured supply ships. Every day brought new reports of Vorthak facilities exploding or disappearing. "How are they doing this?" demanded Vorthak Admiral Thek. "Our sensors show nothing. Our guards see nothing. But our ships keep disappearing." His intelligence officer looked nervous. "The humans fight differently than anyone we have conquered before. They do not attack from the front where we can see them. They attack from behind, from below, from inside our own bases." Thek was learning what every other enemy of humanity eventually learned. Humans did not just fight harder than other species. They fought smarter, They studied their enemies, found weaknesses, and exploited them with ruthless efficiency. The first major battle came at Kepler Station, a Vorthak military outpost near the border of human space. Fleet Admiral Bei Jinwoo brought his entire armada against the enemy fortress. The Vorthak commander was confident. His station had the strongest shields in their fleet and enough weapons to destroy 100 ships. He had fought many battles and always won, but he had never fought humans before. "Begin the attack," Jinwoo ordered. The human fleet did not charge forward like other species. Instead, they spread out in a complex pattern that confused the enemy. Gunners. Small ships darted between the big ones, drawing fire away from the heavy cruisers. Fighter squadrons attacked from 6 directions at once. Captain An Sohee brought Incheon's fury close to the station's main shields. Her quantum cores had given Dr. Song Yerim the perfect solution to Vorthak defenses. "Fire the resonance cannon," Sohee ordered. The weapon sent out a wave of energy that matched the exact frequency of the enemy shields. The massive barriers flickered and died, leaving the station defenseless. Within an hour, Kepler Station was destroyed. The Vorthak had lost their strongest outpost and 500 ships. The humans had lost 12 fighters and 1 damaged cruiser. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The peaceful human farmers had built a war machine that could crush the mighty Vorthak military. Other alien species began to reconsider their opinions about humanity, but the humans were just getting started. Fleet Admiral Bei Jinwoo divided his forces into smaller fleets that could strike multiple targets at once. Dr. Song Yerim's technology allowed human ships to coordinate attacks across vast distances. Major Lim Donghyuk's commandos continued their sabotage missions deep in enemy territory. Most importantly, Earth's war machine kept growing. New ships launched every day. New weapons were tested and deployed. New soldiers graduated from training. Centers that had been built in former shopping malls and sports stadiums. The Vorthak had thought they were attacking a weak enemy. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant that was bigger, stronger, and angrier than anything the galaxy had ever seen. In his private cabin, Fleet Admiral Bei Jinwoo studied star maps and planned the next phase of the war. The human fleets would soon reach the heart of Vorthak space. When they arrived, the enemy would learn the final lesson about fighting humanity. Humans did not just defend their homes. They made sure their enemies could never threaten those homes again. The Vorthak collective had ruled through fear for centuries. Soon, they would learn what real fear felt like. The giants were fully awake now, and they were marching toward war. 6 months into the war, the galaxy was watching humanity with new eyes. Ambassador Yoon Jae-hyung sat across from the leaders of 3 different alien species: the Ethereal Republic, the Nexus Confederation, and the Hegemony Coalition. Had all asked for this secret meeting. They wanted to talk about the human war against the Vorthak. "Your people fight like nothing we have ever seen," said Ethereal Prime Minister Veltara. Her blue skin shimmered with nervous energy. "The Vorthak conquered us in 6 months. You have been fighting them for half that time, and they are losing." Jae-hyung smiled politely. Before the war, he had been a trade negotiator. Now he was humanity's chief military diplomat. The job had changed, but the skills were the same. "The Vorthak made a mistake," he said simply. "They attacked our families." What he did not say was more important. Humanity had been preparing for this war for 50 years. Every human colony was actually a military base. Every human civilian was a trained soldier. Every human ship could become a weapon of war. The aliens were learning this lesson the hard way. Admiral Shin Hyun commanded the deep space reconnaissance fleets that scouted ahead of the main human forces. Her ships were small and fast, designed to gather information and disappear before the enemy could respond. But what her scouts were finding surprised everyone. "The Vorthak Empire is falling apart," she reported to Fleet Admiral Bei Jinwoo. "Their conquered species are rebelling. Their own generals are fighting each other. They cannot handle a real war. This was humanity's second great advantage. The Vorthak had built their empire on fear and oppression. When their military started losing battles, their whole system began to collapse. Human colonies grew stronger during wartime. Human civilians worked harder when their families were threatened. Human soldiers fought better when they were defending their homes. The Vorthak system worked the opposite way. Their conquered slaves stopped working when they sensed weakness. Their generals competed for power instead of cooperating. Their soldiers surrendered when battles became difficult. Colonel Jiang Minho was seeing this firsthand. His liberation forces had landed on 3 former Vorthak slave worlds. Instead of fighting the humans, the enslaved aliens joined them. They have been waiting for someone strong enough to defeat the Vorthak, Minho reported. Entire planets are switching sides. The colonel was leading a mixed force of humans and liberated aliens against Vorthak strongholds. The enemy had not expected this kind of cooperation. Their intelligence reports said other species hated each other and could never work together. But humans were different. They made friends instead of slaves. They shared technology instead of hoarding it. They protected the weak instead of exploiting them. This difference was becoming the key to victory. Engineer O. Sulgi had been working on humanity's greatest secret weapon, not a gun or a bomb, but something even more powerful, a new kind of faster-than-light drive. We can now move entire fleets instantly across the galaxy, she explained to the War Council. While the enemy takes days to travel between systems, we can be there in minutes. The technology was based on quantum entanglement principles that human scientists had been studying for decades. Other species used hyperspace tunnels that were slow and predictable. Humans had learned to fold space itself. This gave them the ultimate tactical advantage. Human fleets could appear anywhere without warning, strike hard, and disappear before reinforcements arrived. The Vorthak were discovering that their traditional tactics no longer worked. They tried to concentrate their forces to defend important worlds, but human fleets simply appeared somewhere else. They tried to spread out to cover more territory, but then human forces destroyed them piece by piece. Fleet Admiral Bei Jinwu was using Osulgi's new technology to fight the war on 100 fronts at once. His ships struck at Vorthak supply lines, communication centers, and military bases across their entire empire. "We are not just fighting a war," he told his officers. "We are dismantling their ability to make war." The strategy was working perfectly. Vorthak forces were running out of fuel, ammunition, and replacement parts. Their communication networks were so damaged that different parts of their military could not coordinate with each other. But the humans were just getting started. Dr. Song Yerim had been studying captured Vorthak technology and making disturbing discoveries. The aliens had been planning to attack humanity for years. They had maps of human space, detailed intelligence reports, and invasion plans for every major colony. "They were going to attack all our worlds at once," she told Admiral Wu Taiho. "This was not a test or a raid. They wanted to destroy us completely." This news made the human leadership even more determined. The Vorthak had not just attacked human colonies. They had planned genocide. This was not a war that could end with a peace treaty. It had to end with the complete defeat of the Vorthak military threat. Ambassador Yoon Jae-hyung was getting more requests for meetings every day. Alien species throughout the galaxy wanted to join the human coalition. Some had been conquered by the Vorthak and wanted revenge. Others were afraid they would be next if the Vorthak won. "We offer you protection," Jae-hyung told each delegation. "In return, we ask only that you help us build a galaxy where aggression is punished and peace is rewarded." The response was overwhelming. 12 species joined the human alliance in 1 month. They brought fleets, soldiers, and most importantly, detailed knowledge of Vorthak weaknesses. Admiral Shin Hyun's scouts reported that entire sectors of Vorthak space were now controlled by rebel forces. The empire that had seemed so powerful 6 months ago was crumbling from within. "Their capital system is almost isolated," she reported. "Most of their fleet is trapped trying to hold their core worlds. If we can break through their remaining defenses, we can end this war. Colonel Jang Minho was preparing for the final assault. His liberation forces now included soldiers from 8 different species, all united by their hatred of Vorthak oppression. The enslaved worlds are ready to rise up, he reported. When we attack the capital, every slave species in Vorthak space will rebel at the same time. Engineer Oh Solgi had one more surprise for the enemy. Her new drive technology could not only move ships instantly, it could move entire space stations and orbital fortresses. We can bring our strongest defenses with us, she explained. Instead of leaving our fortresses behind to guard empty space, we can take them to the battle. As the human forces prepared for their final offensive, the Vorthak leadership was falling apart. Their supreme commander had been assassinated by his own generals. Their main fleets were fighting each other instead of the humans. Their slave worlds were in open revolt. The mighty empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was collapsing because they had made one simple mistake. They had attacked humanity's families. The sleeping giants were fully awake now, and they were about to finish what the Vorthak had started. But this would not be conquest or revenge. It would be justice. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans went to war, they did not just win battles. They made sure the war could never happen again. The final battle for Vorthak Prime began at dawn on a day that would change galactic history forever. Grand Admiral Quan Minsu commanded the largest fleet ever assembled. 5,000 ships from 30 different species surrounded the Vorthak homeworld. Human vessels led the formation, but they were joined by every race that had suffered under Vorthak rule. "All fleets report ready," announced his communications officer. "The liberation forces are in position." Minsu nodded grimly. This was not just a military operation. It was justice for 100 conquered worlds and billions of enslaved beings. In a way, the planet below, the last Vorthak military forces prepared for a final stand. They had lost most of their empire, but they still controlled their homeworld's massive defense systems. Orbital platforms bristled with weapons that could destroy entire fleets, but they had never faced anything like what humanity brought to this battle. President Han Ji-won watched from Earth as the assault began. She had spent months negotiating with alien species, building the coalition that would replace Vorthak rule. Now it was time to see if diplomacy could work, as well as military force. "The future of the galaxy depends on what happens next," she told her advisors. "We must show that humans can build peace as well as they wage war." The battle began with a display of technology that amazed every species watching. Engineer O. Selgi's instant travel systems allowed human fleets to appear inside the Vorthak defense perimeter without warning. One moment, the orbital platforms were firing at empty space. The next moment, human dreadnoughts were destroying them from point-blank range. Captain On Sohee brought Incheon's fury through the planet's upper atmosphere, her ship's shields glowing white-hot from enemy fire. But Dr. Song Yerim's latest improvements made human ships nearly invulnerable to Vorthak weapons. "Target the military command centers," Sohee ordered. "Avoid civilian areas." This was another way humans fought differently. Other conquering species destroyed everything in their path. Humans tried to save innocent lives even while defeating their enemies. On the ground, Colonel Jang Minho led the liberation forces through the streets of the Vorthak capital city. His soldiers included humans, ethereals, Nexus troops, and members of a dozen formerly enslaved species. "Remember," he told his troops, "we are liberators, not conquerors. Protect the civilians and capture the military leaders alive." The Vorthak military had expected a brutal assault that would destroy their cities. Instead, they faced surgical strikes that disabled their weapons while sparing their people. Many Vorthak soldiers simply surrendered when they realized the humans were not there to massacre them. General Ryu Taejun commanded the occupation forces that followed behind the combat troops. His job was to establish order and begin the process. of rebuilding Vorthak society without its military dictatorship. Set up medical centers in every district, he ordered. Begin distributing food and water. Show the people that we come as friends, not enemies. This confused the Vorthak civilians. Every previous conqueror had enslaved them, stolen their resources, or destroyed their culture. The humans seemed more interested in helping than in taking. Dr. No Hyejin was already working on the most important part of the victory. As head of the new Galactic Council, she had to create a system of government that would prevent future wars like this one. We cannot rule through fear like the Vorthak did, she explained to the council delegates. We must build something better, a galaxy where all species can grow and prosper in peace. The other species were amazed by this human attitude. Most conquerors kept their power through force. Humans seemed to want to give power away to anyone who would use it responsibly. Within hours, the Vorthak capital had fallen. The last resistance strongholds surrendered when their leaders realized that humans treated prisoners with dignity and respect. The mighty empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was finished, but ending the war was only the beginning. President Han Ji-won arrived at Vorthak Prime a week after the battle. She came not as a conqueror, but as the leader of a new kind of galactic civilization. We are here to help you rebuild, she told the assembled Vorthak leaders. Your people are not our enemies. Your military dictatorship was our enemy. Now we can work together to build something better. The Galactic Protection Accords that she signed represented humanity's vision for the future. Every species would govern itself as it chose, but any government that attacked other worlds would face the combined might of the human-led coalition. We do not want to rule the galaxy, Han Ji-won explained to the galactic media. We want to protect it. There is a difference. The difference was becoming clear to everyone. Human fleets patrolled former Vorthak space, but they did not occupy worlds or demand tribute. Instead, they helped rebuild damaged planets and protected weak species from aggressive neighbors. Admiral Shin Hae-yoon's scouts reported that several other militaristic species were reconsidering their expansion plans. Word was spreading throughout the galaxy. Attacking peaceful worlds would bring swift and overwhelming retaliation from humanity and its allies. Fear is a good teacher, she told Grand Admiral Kwon Min-soo. Species that might have started wars are now talking about peace treaties instead. The transformation was remarkable to watch. Sectors that had been battlegrounds for centuries were becoming peaceful trading zones. Species that had been enemies for millennia were cooperating under human protection. But the most important change was in humanity itself. Dr. Lee Minji visited the former Vorthak homeworld to help establish new colonial governments. What she found surprised her. The humans living there were not conquering heroes. They were teachers, doctors, engineers, and farmers who genuinely wanted to help their former enemies. We are not here to be your masters, she told a gathering of Vorthak civilians. We are here to be your friends, if you will let us. The response was overwhelming. Former Vorthak slaves, liberated by human forces, competed to join human colonies. They had seen what human civilization looked like, and they wanted to be part of it. Back on Earth, Admiral Wu Tai-ho was preparing for retirement. The war was over, and the peace was secure. His job was finished. What will you do now? Asked his old friend, Captain Park Sun-ho. Watch my grandchildren grow up in a galaxy where they never have to fear alien invasions, Tai-ho replied. That is victory enough for me, but humanity's role in the galaxy was just beginning. Engineer Oh Seulgi was sharing her technology with allied species. Dr. Song Yerim was teaching alien scientists how to build better defenses. Colonel Jang Minho was training peacekeeping forces from a dozen different worlds. The galaxy had learned its most important lesson. Humans looked peaceful because they chose to be peaceful. But when forced to fight, they were unstoppable. More importantly, they fought not for conquest or glory, but to protect the innocent and preserve peace. They were reluctant warriors who became guardians. 5 years after the war ended, Ambassador Yoon Jae-hyung received a report that made him smile. No major wars had been fought anywhere in the galaxy. Trade was increasing between former enemies. New colonies were being established through cooperation instead of conquest. "The sleeping giants are awake," he told his staff, "and now everyone else can sleep safely." The galaxy had entered a new age, not an age of human dominance, but an age of human protection. The giants walked among the stars now, watching over smaller species and ensuring that the strong could never again prey upon the weak. The Vorthak had attacked Earth's colonies to test human strength. Instead, they had awakened a force that would reshape the galaxy forever. Humanity had become what every species secretly hoped for, protectors who were powerful enough to keep the peace and wise enough to know when to use their power. The giants were awake, and the galaxy was safe.